Well, we are now about to have one of the most looked forward to segments of any Fixed Ops Roundtable in the last 2.5 years. I'd like to introduce to you our distinguished panel with our guests, beginning with Tom Dahl, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Subaru of America. Tom, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hi, Ted. Great to be with you today. Looking forward to it.
Very honored to have you, my friend. Thank you. I also would like to introduce two folks who probably don't need any introductions, but I will anyway. Adam Arens, who is the owner of the Patriot Automotive Group, including 2 Subaru dealerships in New England, one of the Automotive News top dealerships to work for the last consecutive years. Adam, welcome back to the event.
Well, thanks for having us, and I look forward to this day of learning and listening as well. So thank you for having us.
As do I. And of course, Liza Borches, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Carter Myers Automotive, one of the top dealership workplaces, one of the top workplaces to work for. Liza, welcome to the event.
Thank you, Ted. 2 of my favorite people, Tom and Adam. I am absolutely honored to be able to be on a panel with you guys today. Looking forward to it.
You're also 2 of my favorite people also. I can't think of a better couple to have on the panel than Liza and Adam for this. This is going to be terrific.
Tom, I have to ask you, how long have all of you known each other?
Oh, wow. Let me start with Adam, because I think I've known Adam a little bit longer, only because he's been around for a while. Not that Liza hasn't. It's just I knew Liza's father before I met Liza. So I've probably known Adam for probably at least 25 years.
No, it's not that long, but I will tell you that this month marks our 216th month in business. If you do the math, that's 18 years. It's a special number to us and our organization. So that we actually have people who are working in our organization now who were not alive when we started. So that's a big thing for us. But so it's that. But I will tell you, one of the reasons that I'm a Subaru retailer is that man in that box there. Tom Dahl is the best of the best, and the most humble servant leader that I've had the opportunity to work with in the last 18 years, and I appreciate everything he does.
Well, thanks for that, Adam. I really appreciate it. And Liza, I've probably known you for at least 7 or 8 years. But of course, I've known your father for many years. When he was an NADA, he would always seek me out at the NADA meetings. Such a friendly Southern gentleman. I think the world of your father.
Well, Tom, I think that goes to your approachability, because not every leader of an auto manufacturer is as approachable to be able to just reach out and stop in a conversation, whether at NADA or one of our other meetings. I think we've been a Subaru retailer since 2014, but really started connecting with you all a couple years ahead of that when we were working with you on the Open Point for Richmond. But I'll never forget in 2014 when I came to my first Subaru retailer meeting, you sought me out to come introduce yourself to me and make sure and thank me and congratulate me for becoming a part of you all's family. And that doesn't just happen. So your approachability is incredible. And we've been a Subaru retailer since 2014 and continue to add more Subaru stores and love it.
Well, we appreciate everything that you and Carter Myers organization does for us. And believe it or not, I try to reach out to all the new retailers at our national meetings. I try to make sure that I get an opportunity to seek them out, shake their hands, and welcome them to our Subaru family, as we like to call it. Welcome to the living room. It's really what we call it. We call it really the living room. That's why Adam's so good there in his living room today. I love it.
I love it. Tom, our audience today, as always, is dealers, general managers, fixed operations directors, service managers, parts, body shop. So I have to ask you, Subaru's had some tremendous sales growth for years, which is going to produce tremendous demand in service and parts for years to come. How are you preparing your retailers for this?
Yeah, it's really spectacular growth that we had, really up through the pandemic in 2019. We had 11 years of sales records and 12 years of sales increases. We saw our units in operation go from about 1.6 million in about 2008, all the way up to about 5.4 million by the time we got to the end of 2019. And obviously, since 20 and 21 here, even though we've sold less cars than we did in 2019, units in operation continues to grow. And what we've tried to do is to come up with programs and ideas, because we recognized when we started our growth back in 2013 that our retailers weren't sized or scaled enough to be able to handle the growth in unit sales. And, in this business, I've been around long enough to understand and know that we can't grow our new car business until we're able to make sure that the cars that are in operation can be serviced properly. So what we tried to do is come up with a program that we called Subaru Fixed Operations Expansion, what we called the FOX program in 2014, to help our retailers expand their service capacity, adding lift space, technicians, and service advisors. We contributed along with our retailers with that expansion. Then in 2015, we launched Express Service. In 2017, we launched our Service Pulse program, which measures service retention. And then in 2018, we introduced M5 Consulting, which helps our fixed operations with their operations, how many lifts, how many bays, how to get technicians into the store. And in 2019, we introduced a really interesting tool called the FOMO tool. And in vernacular, it means fear of missing out, but it really means fixed operations opportunity. Because with our units in operation and our growth, we were able to measure how much business we were actually losing to potentially the competition. So we've done a lot of things over the years to help our retailers grow their fixed operations business and continue to do so. And I'm interested to hear what Liza and Adam might think about some of the programs that we have in place.
Absolutely. Adam, if you wouldn't mind first.
Well, the first thing I will tell you that is some of the relationships that people have with the manufacturer or the distributor can be adversary. In the case of us with Subaru, we realized that what they're saying is actually good for us. It's well thought out. And so we have no resistance to that. I have a facility in Saco, Maine that was built in 2003 with a planning volume of 190. And we're into almost 2,000 new vehicles and the same on used vehicles on an annual basis. So we've expanded that facility 4 times. And to the point where we're looking to find more places to grow and or utilize the 24 hours in a day better, because there is pressure on us. And we think that if you can't get somebody in within 24 hours of them reaching out, that you have a problem. So we've never been resistant. Subaru has been the best supporting partner of growth and helped us through training avenues, through realization of what we're missing, and truly been a partner. So we thank Tom and his team on the fixed op side for turning the light bulb on. And I won't say anything about the amount of money that we get from them, because it's different depending on the part of the country that you're in.
That's right.
But when you listen to Tom Dahl, you get a lot of things that help you fix your future and be prepared for it. So thanks to Tom and Subaru, we're prepared for what has happened.
Liza?
Tom went through a lot of the programs. Right when we joined the Subaru family in 2014, the Fox program was already well down that path. So we immediately jumped in and expanded the Subaru service department of the dealership that we were purchasing. Since then, we've participated in every program. And I think what Adam said, and I'm going to reiterate it, we currently represent 18 different franchises. We get a lot of programs thrown our way. And we typically read every one super carefully, because I'm not always confident that it's the right match for our dealership group, except when they come from Subaru. Subaru has created the trust in the relationship with their retailers that we know when we get a program such as the M5 Consulting program, such as Subaru Express Service and these others, we know that they are creating a win-win for us. We've had that past experience and we're able to trust that relationship to say, yes, sign us up. So we don't participate in every OEM program in our other franchises, but with Subaru, it happens without question. Specifically to the M5 partnership, that was one that we weren't sure we wanted a consultant necessarily coming in, but they have brought tremendous ideas on how we can create more flexible schedules to recruit better technicians, how we can do a better job setting appointments for our customers. So as Adam said, we aren't scheduling more than 24 hours out, which in some of our other franchises we are. They brought some great ideas on how we can look at our pricing matrices to make sure that we are best meeting our customers' needs. So M5 has been a fantastic partner. The other thing that I'll mention that's not specific to fixed ops, but it probably impacts fixed ops more than anything else, is the Subaru Love University. And our 3 dealerships are participating as a pilot in the Subaru Love University. And they come out and they've been doing a significant amount of training on how we can improve our customer experience. And the one-on-one interviews they did with every service advisor in our 3 Subaru dealerships to really get to know our advisors, find out what their superpowers were and how they could personally be more creative in creating a great customer experience, was awesome. I loved watching and participating in it. And the last thing I'll mention around the Subaru Love University, they have these webinars, and I was listening in on one not long ago, and they have these things called conversation starters. I think they were called something else that I wrote down. Heart cards, I think is what they were, Tom.
That's exactly right.
Heart cards. And so I had written a couple of them down, and Ted, no other OEM does this. But for example, they have these little cards that we pull out with our team every day. And one of them was, what actions can you take this week to show customers that you appreciate their time, their business, and their loyalty to Subaru? And then have a discussion around that with our service team to kick off our day. So those are the sorts of programs that are just unique to Subaru that have absolutely helped us grow our service operations by focusing on the customer and creating win-wins between all of us.
Wow. Great information. I had no idea, Liza. Tom, how does Subaru measure your successful dealers in service, and how do retailers like Liza and Adam stand out?
Well, obviously the key to any business, right? A teacher a long time ago told me that the key to any business is to create a loyal customer. And that's really what we're trying to do with everything that we do, whether it's in sales, parts, service, used cars, you name it. That's what we're trying to do as a business. And one of the things we try to do on the service side to make sure that we're trying to keep the customers loyal is we look, for example, at our net promoter scores. And that's the number of people that are giving you like an 8 or a 9 on a 10-point scale versus the number of people that are giving you a 6 or below. And so you net the promoters and the detractors, and you come up with a net score. And our net promoter score, particularly for the two retailers that we have here with Adam and Liza, they do extremely well and have one of the highest net promoter scores in the country, which is really something to say. We also try to work with service retention through, as I said earlier, our service pulse system that we've got that measures how many times customers are coming back to the store for services, making sure they're coming back at least once a year for whether it's an oil change or some form of maintenance and that type of thing. Because as Liza said, it's all about building trust and that trusting relationship. Because without trust, everything kind of falls. You got to have trust, whether it's in a personal relationship or a relationship with a customer. Trust has to be there. And obviously, when the car is delivered to the customer, we have something called a delivery checklist. And one of the things we want our salespeople to do is to make sure that they're actually introducing either the service manager or the service advisors to the customer once the car is delivered, so they know who to contact should something go wrong with the vehicle. So it's really important to make sure that the retailer, and I think our retailers do, they understand the importance and the role that they have to play in making sure that our customers remain loyal, not just to them, but to the brand.
I like that so much. Let me come to Liza first, and then Adam. Anything that you'd like to respond to that?
You know, Tom hit on a lot of the programs. One of the things that I love is how they recognize our associates when they do great, when they create those wow moments. And I don't know how often they come out, but a lot of the newsletters talk about the love moments, and they'll highlight associates in our dealerships and the experience that they've provided. A lot of our customers will write Tom notes and he'll share them out there. So when we share those stories, when Subaru highlights our associates, that motivates them in such a huge way to make sure that it didn't just happen for that one customer, that they're creating that experience with every customer, every day, every interaction, every time. And so when they share those love moments and when they send out the star pins, which one of our service managers has received several of them from Tom personally, and he writes a note, he is leading by example of how we want our teams to treat our customers. He's treating our associates the way we need to treat our customers. So leading by example is something important that I'll mention.
Wow, love it.
You have one of the best, Liza, you have one of the best service managers in the country at one of your stores. I'm not going to mention her name because I'm fearful that one of the other retailers around the country will try to steal her.
Tom, she just texted me right as we were about to start this. She didn't know we were about to come on this panel, and she texted me this awesome, inspiring little note. She's great.
She really is. She's terrific. And I think she's won the most Be Starful pins of anybody in the country. And by the way, there's only been about 36 of those pins that have ever been issued, because I have to get a letter from a customer in order to be able to send that to somebody. So I'm really looking for more of these love promise moments to come in so I can send more of those pins out to people.
So Tom and Ted, I think this is important for fixed ops.
Yes.
This particular service manager, we are starting her in Dealer Academy in January and grooming her to be the next general manager of that Subaru store because our GM is getting closer to retirement. And so we haven't typically in the past had many GMs come from the fixed ops side of the business. We are looking more for that in the future. It is such a critical component to our dealerships today. So we're looking forward to growing her into the next general manager at CMA.
Tom, I have to tell you that at the Fixed Ops Roundtable over the last 2.5 years, we have done a number of panels on women in retail automotive. Our first one, Adam and Liza, was in Las Vegas almost 2 years ago, and you both spoke, and Liza spoke at that event. And Liza, I'm so proud that at this event, at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, we actually have 2 panels on women in retail automotive. So I'd like at some point in the future, if possible, to get your manager on one of those panels.
Wonderful.
I think that'd be amazing. And really, it's all been inspired by a lot of the things that Liza has done and said. And that's led to panels on diversity and inclusion, and it's really blown up big. Adam, some thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think this all comes down to one key word, and that's empowerment. And when the empowerment is completely vertical, in other words, everybody says yes because it's the right thing to do. I have been in organizations or been a customer in a place where the person who's telling you no says, I know it's not the right thing, but I get in trouble if I say yes, right? And I can talk about different manufacturers who have turned down claims because somebody has 36,500 miles on a 2-year-old car that would otherwise be covered, and it has nothing to do with miles. When the visor doesn't work, they don't want to do that because they've had a chargeback, and the trickle down was chargeback noticed in accounting, chargeback goes to GM, who then gets in the service manager's face, and then the service manager gets in the advisor's face. The empowerment of an organization where everybody knows that doing the right thing is pretty easy to define, including the manufacturer, right? So Subaru has done something that others don't. They take responsibility for the mistakes they make, and they take responsibility for the mistakes we make at times. And that leads to the retention of the customer. And you can't grow from where Subaru was to where it is by churning people through. And right now, there's moments of truth in every customer's mind every day that they're engaged with your people. And if no becomes the answer, or it's your fault becomes the answer, that doesn't work. And it doesn't work for any of us. So, there's times when we say, listen, I understand you may not be able to afford getting this done in our service department, but the reality is that it needs to be done. Let's separate the problems of what needs to be done and how it's going to get paid for. And that empowerment allows Subaru to take a step into that when they should, and sometimes when they shouldn't. It allows me to take a step into that. It allows my service advisor and service manager to have a level of goodwill that we all get that customer happy, or at least moving forward. And it's not what is it called when somebody leaves you, a defection?
Defection.
It allows defection to not happen, even though they may not be ecstatic, right? So once everybody knows we're all on the same team, including the customer, amazing things happen.
Because we have retailers like the two of you, our owner retention through JD Power, our owner loyalty, has been the highest in the industry for the last 3 consecutive years. Ever since they started measuring that loyalty measurement, we've been number 1 in the industry by far. So what you're both are saying there, I'm actually you're going to make me cry, because it's really what we're trying to do. If we're going to err, we want to err on the side of supporting our retailer and our customer.
And it's hard to get a company that is driven by technology to understand people. Tom is our bridge, as well as his team. And I can tell you, in dealing with the other manufacturers at times, there are people that are afraid of the boss. In Camden, there's no fear. And that's what we try to make happen in our organizations as well.
Adam, I'm going to shoot you over a book that we just read, all of our service advisors, and I believe that I might get the name wrong. It was called The Answer is Yes, or Yes is the Answer. It's one of the two of those. Right. And we just had every service advisor in our company read it to have discussions around, in today's world, between parts being on back order, not having enough loaner cars, all these things. People are getting just tired of hearing the word no all the time. And so we had everybody read this book and talk about, how do we make sure that we are finding ways to say yes and to serve, even if we don't have the same resources. So I'll shoot that book over to you. Might be of interest.
Thank you. Oh, for sure.
Tom, before we got started today, we had a little conversation offline. about some of the charitable aspects of Subaru of America and things that your retailers do. And we're honored to have you here today because there's a charitable commitment and an aspect of this event, which we call Pay It Forward at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Tom, tell us a little bit about Share the Love. How did that come about? Because you were telling us a little bit about that, and tell us how it's grown.
That's a great question. Our Share the Love program actually started in 2008, so 14 years ago. And this will be the 14th annual installment of it since that time. And essentially the idea came about at the end of the year when we saw all of the other manufacturers doing sales events. We said to ourselves, if we do a sales event, we're just going to get lost because there's so many other manufacturers that kind of outshout us during that year-end period of time through actually now, middle of November all the way through to the end of the year. So what can we do that's going to be different and that's going to stand out? So what we did is we decided we were going to take $250 of the incentives that we were spending at the time, and we were going to create a program where we would give this back to what was at the time 5 national charities. Since then, what we've done is 2014, we decided what we're going to do is to bring our retailers involved with that create hometown charities. So our retailers, depending upon their size, can have up to 2 charities that they can also contribute money to. And we set aside $250 per vehicle sold or leased during the period. This year runs from November the 18th through January the 3rd. And customers decide how they want that money allocated. There's 4 national charities. There's Meals on Wheels, Make-A-Wish, the National Park Foundation, and the ASPCA. And then, of course, the retailers have their hometown charities. But what's really been rewarding about it is Subaru of America would really prefer this money to go locally into the retailers' areas to make their local communities stronger and better and to help our society become better as well. And over the years, now about 2/3 of the money that's raised every year, for example, last year we raised $26.3 million. It was a record in a pandemic that we and our retailers raised. And by the way, a lot of people will say, well, Subaru raises this money. No, we don't. Remember, we don't sell anything. It's our retailers that do all the selling. And they're the ones that create the resources that come about that fund the Share the Love event. And what's also been rewarding is over the last couple of years, we added a fixed operations component where for every repair order that is done during this period of time, our retailers will donate $5 per repair order, no matter what the size of the repair order. So last year we had over 300 retailers participate, and this year we're hoping that we get even more and more retailers. But since the start of Share the Love in 2008, this year we'll probably have raised over $225 million that has gone back to these national charities or to the retailers' hometown charities. And in fact, over half of that money has gone back into the retailers' local communities. So we'd like to think we're making a huge impact in our local communities by tying our retailers more strongly to the local communities. And by the way, Ted, it's not just money we're giving. Our retailers are devoting their time, which is the most precious asset that they have. So they're allowing their staff to go out into the local community and do volunteer activities during this period of time. And I can't tell you how proud I am of our retailers for how they've adopted this and how they've supported their local communities and how it's made all of us into better people.
Liza, how has Carter Myers gotten involved?
Well, the Share the Love is the best part of being a Subaru retailer. When we joined in 2014, it was the first big thing that we were able to be a part of. We had only been a retailer for a couple months, and that was in Stanton, Virginia. And over in Stanton, we've, I think since then, just to our local hometown charity, have been able to contribute about $150,000. Wow. We've been focusing for our hometown charity on families and specifically children in need in that community. Over in Richmond, we've only been a retailer there for 5 years, and we've done well over $100,000 in that market, focusing mostly on food inequities and families in need in Richmond. And then we've been in Winchester the last year and a half and focused on the local SPCA. But it really does. It is just the perfect example of a win-win where Subaru partners with their retailers and together we are making a huge impact. These local nonprofits, they are blown away by the generosity of an auto manufacturer and their retailers together when we're able to give out these checks. It is seeing the smiles on their faces and then going into their nonprofits and seeing the work that they're able to do with the dollars. That's what drives us to wake up every morning. We talk all the time about moving lives forward. And when our team gets to go out and give these checks on behalf of Subaru and our team, it is one of the best days of the year.
Wow. Adam?
Well, it is been said how important this is to the communities that we serve. And obviously in our markets, the needs are the same as Liza's. And I imagine that it's throughout the 50 states that, we try to serve children. We try to serve people who are in situations beyond their control. And just because of the tenure that I have, we now have a couple of charities that will pass 7 figures in our partnership between Share the Love.
Wow. Earlier on the show this morning, we had Dr. Lou from the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society speak, Tom, whom I know you know very, very well. And Dr. Lou spoke about the good work that LLS is doing. And as you know, we're supporting LLS at this event, Pay It Forward, and at our next event also in March. Tom, talk to us a little bit about Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
I've known Dr. Lou, gosh, it's got to be, I officially started meeting him, I guess, probably in 2014, which was a couple years before we got involved with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society more formally, which was in 2016. So we've been a partner for them for probably the last 5 years. And over the course of that time, between ourselves and our retailers, because many of our retailers through Share the Love and other things that they do, Subaru Loves to Help, which is the program that we run in June, also work with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, donating money. We probably donated upwards of $3.5 to $4 million since 2016, since we began the program. But with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, a lot of the research that they do isn't just for leukemia and lymphoma. Their research goes into really all forms of cancer and all forms of cancer drugs. In fact, there's a statistic that Dr. Lou probably told you that roughly 80% of all the cancer drugs that have been approved over the last 10 years, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has helped to fund the basic research for that. And so the work that they're doing is tremendous in how they're trying to alleviate cancer. And they think within the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to be able to eliminate most forms of cancer. And I can't be more proud of all the work that they're doing and our retailers are doing to support the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That's why I'm so supportive of this event, because hopefully you can raise a lot of money.
Yeah, we like it so much. And we think it's a very, very worthy charity as well, as I know Subaru does. Just going back a little bit, I heard a little bit about personal letters that you received, Tom, from Subaru owners daily. Would you say that there's a theme, both positive and or negative, about their experiences? Oh,
most definitely. I would say positive. Obviously, customers that get into a car accident and the car keeps them so safe. We also, like as Liza and Adam were talking about, we are starting to receive a lot of letters from customers regarding what we call love promise moments, which are these moments of truth that our retailers create for our customers, and how our retailers, whether they're service advisors or technicians, have gone out of their way to make sure that they've given the customer a great experience. On the negative side, I would say customers probably just don't feel like maybe they've been heard, or they don't feel as though they're being valued. But obviously our goal is to try to eliminate that as much as possible. But obviously when a customer comes to one of our stores for service work or maintenance work or whatever, they're coming because there's a problem, right? And it's how we address and how we try to solve their problem, which I like Liza's book there, the answer is yes, or getting to yes, is really what we're trying to instill, not just with our retailers, but the people that are back here at Subaru of America, because we have to set the example for the retailers. If we don't walk the walk, there's no way the retailers are ever going to do what we need them to do. And so the love promise and all the things that we're trying to preach they just fall apart. And it is part of something that what we want to be remembered for, which is this old Augustinian priest that I know, this gentleman, when I was in college said, he said, by the time you're 50, what do you want to be remembered for? And what we want to be remembered for is not only being good business people or good retailers, but also being good people that are in business, trying to help our staffs, help our local communities to be better. And that's really kind of what, if I had to sum up the franchise and our brand, that's really what we're all about.
I like that. And I can tell the trickle down, because it's come out in a number of things that I've heard from Liza. Adam, anything you'd like to add to that?
It is that moment of truth. And I beg everybody out there to walk into somebody else's service department. You don't have to say anything, but for instance, we require our advisors to go into somebody else's service department, even if it means, driving 30 miles away so they're not recognized, just to sit there and watch. Some of them say nobody ever even approaches them, But I said, what did you learn while you were there? And one told me that they took their car in, which was one of our cars, and were never offered a loaner, never offered anything to do. And when they were checking out, they asked, why didn't you offer me anything? So they said, well, we used to have 180 loaner cars. We have 10 now. And if your car's not here for at least 8 hours of labor, you don't qualify for one. And the average selling price of these cars is in the $60,000 to $70,000 range. And I know it's not the manufacturer that's forcing that; it's the market and the decision that the retailer made. But don't put your people in a bad spot, right? And so, as we make these decisions that seem to make sense short term, they may break long term relationships. And we're all here for the long term. Yeah. Don't make a transactional decision that will cause you to lose a relationship. And so that's really what all of this love is about. And so if you fall in love with your people, keep your people. If your people are there, they'll keep their people, which are their customers. And having a manufacturer and other retailers like it make it much easier, because I can't sell cars out of market if the retailer where they buy the car is not a good place to service their car. So all of this hinges on the people that work the service department. They're faced with the moment of truth so many times a day, more than anybody else in the store. And specifically, take a look at your service advisors. If they're not happy when they come to work, they're going to affect 15 to 30 other people every day.
Absolutely.
Wow. I've heard similar things from Liza. Liza, anything you'd like to add on that side?
Yeah, I'm just going to take what Adam just said about our own associates being happy and engaged being the most important part. We are welcoming 5 more dealerships as a part of our company next week, and we were just doing orientations. And we went through all of our expectations for customer experience, and it was a lot of technicians and service advisors. I was the majority of the associates I was speaking with. And we went through all the customer experience expectations, and I asked them, I said, but there's one thing that is the most important element of us being able to create a great customer experience. And I asked each group, we did 10 different sessions of 25 people at a time. And everybody said all these different things. You got to greet them. You got to make eye contact. I said, no, the most important thing is we have to provide you with a great associate experience. You have to be proud of where you come to work every day, feel that it is an ethically and morally correct company, and that we give you the tools to do the right thing every time. And then we talked about training, and we talked about the fact they have to be able to make a living and support their family. And we go through our 6 elements, but it all starts with a great associate experience, and then that we can create the great customer experience.
Wow. Well said.
All right, while I have the 3 of you here, I have to ask you, starting with Tom, let's talk about EV and the requirements and challenges that Subaru and your retailers are going to be facing, because it's starting to become a very big topic here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Tom, talk to us a little bit about what's coming up there and how you involve retail partners like Liza and Adam in those discussions on the future of EV.
Yeah, sure. Well, we have a plug-in EV now, our plug-in hybrid with our Crosstrek, which is the one we currently have. But next year we have our first true electric vehicle that's coming to the market, called the Solterra, the Subaru Solterra, and it's going to be a great car. We've partnered with Toyota on its development, so it's going to be it's got the heart and the soul though of a Subaru, because it'll have a lot of the Subaru driving dynamics with our all-wheel drive capability. So it's a car you can have both fun with, but also you can get down and dirty with it as well. And it's going to be interesting. The whole transition with EVs is going to be interesting, because obviously a lot of the infrastructure still has to be put in place. And it's not just the infrastructure in terms of like home charging, but it's charging on the road. It's making sure that people can use these vehicles just like they can an internal combustion engine. That's going to take time for that to occur. And also the price points right now, for the most part, except for the Volkswagen ID4, most of the price points are over $50,000. So those price points have to come down. The economies of scale have to kick in, so the price points come down to make them more affordable for customers in general. And then, of course, they're arguing in Washington now over the tax credit issue. But the tax credit comes at the end of the year. People might need that money really more upfront to make the vehicle or the lease more affordable, if it's a lease, or lower the loan value amount if it's a loan, to make the payment more tolerable. So all of these things still have to be considered. I mean, I would personally think, nobody asked me, but if they did, I would say a cash for clunker program might be a little bit better in terms of its effectiveness of getting people to adopt to EVs a little bit faster. But being one of the smaller manufacturers compared to some of the behemoths that we compete with in the industry, we have to be smart. And we have to watch how the market's going to tip. And then once it's ready to tip, now we've got to be ready to pounce. And our parent company, Subaru Corporation in Japan, is obviously watching what's happening in EVs and the acceptance of EVs. And, we're in the process of if we need to, obviously developing additional electric vehicles for the future. So we're going to be okay. In terms of training, obviously, we're going to need a different tool set. The technicians are going to have to be trained in how best to handle EVs, and hopefully the battery packs don't have to come out of the car very often. But if they do, we're going to have some type of a lift device that's going to be able to lift the batteries out of the vehicle for them to be replaced or repaired in some way. So all that's to be determined, and will be over the next couple of months here as we move towards the launch of the new EV, probably sometime mid next year. But it's going to be an exciting period of time for us as we begin our transition to electric vehicles.
Wow. A lot ahead. Great information. Everyone, there's a charitable aspect, as I mentioned earlier, to the Fixed Ops Roundtable Pay It Forward. We are in the process at this event and our next event. We're raising $100,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We're going to put up a QR code on the screen along with the URL where you can donate now to Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Tom, just a little bit about LLS and anything you'd like to add on that.
Well, to get you off to a good start, let me and Subaru of America be the first. We'll get you 10% of the way there. So we'll tithe your first $10,000 to your $100,000 goal, because I believe in the mission of LLS and I believe in Dr. Lou, and I've seen firsthand a lot of the great work that they do. So send me an invoice for the $10,000 and count Subaru of America in.
Wow, Tom, we're so honored and grateful. Thank you so much. And thank you to Subaru of America as well. Adam and Liza, anything you'd like to add as well?
Well, I think, Adam, in true Subaru spirit, shouldn't we be doing a match since that's the way Subaru works?
So you're at 20% right now, and we hope you go at least 20% over. So Liza and I will each contribute $5,000, so that gets you to $20,000. And if you run close at the end, we still got more for you.
Wow.
We are honored to be able to be a part of it. And Tom, thank you for leading us off. And Adam and I are happy to match that 10 with 5 each, and look forward to seeing you all raise a whole lot more money, Ted.
Wow.
Yeah, you're the best. You guys are the best.
For everybody else's knowledge, obviously we've all been involved with LLS. There's nobody's family that hasn't been touched. And one of the easiest ways to get our associates involved is when we deliver blankets with messages through the Subaru program that allows us to go to cancer care centers. And then you start to engage with the story about people's children, about their brothers, sisters, and parents doing the right thing.
By the way, Ted, we should make, in all full disclosure, we should tell the audience that was not planned.
No.
It's just the emotion of the moment kind of got to the three of us, and that's what we decided to do.
And I can tell you on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable at our last event, I did a little segment with Fred Forden from Vice President of CDK Global, and I am affected by leukemia. I have CLL, chronic leukemia, and so does Fred Forden, and we talked a little bit about our personal challenges. So I personally want to thank the three of you and your organizations, Liza, Borches, Adam, Arens, and Tom Dahl, and Subaru of America. Again, we have a QR code up on the screen along with the URL. If you'd like to open up your camera and go ahead and take a snapshot of that, that'll take you directly to the landing page where you can make a donation right now to Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Liza, Borches at Carter Myers Automotive, thank you so much, and a great honor to have you. Adam, thank you for being instrumental in putting all this together. Patriot Automotive Group, Patriot Subaru. Adam, lots of love, okay, for you and the group. And Tom Dahl, very honored to have you here in Subaru of America. We hope to have you back in the future. And Tom, great stuff.
I'd be honored to come back, and as I was trying to always end some of the things we have here, do at Subaru America to Liza and Adam. One love, my brother and sister.
I love it. Tom Dahl, Liza Borches, and Adam Arens here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.